أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise be unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nashhadu an la ilaha illallah. We bear witness that none has the right of worship besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send our greetings and love and salutations to beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to his pious and pure family, to his companions and all those who follow his sunnah until the end of time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us his protection, to grant us his mercy, to watch over us. We put ourselves in his trust and in his care. And sufficient for Allah, sufficient for us is Allah as a protector. May Allah protect us on the day of Qiyamah and save us from the hardships of this dunya and the hardships of the akhirah. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. You know, alhamdulillah, it's always a challenge. The toughest part of a Jumu'ah khutbah is deciding what to talk about. That's why I like to do things in series. Then I'm booked for a few months. And naturally, the topic of discussion is the coronavirus. And maybe to some of you it's over, you've heard enough of it. Some of you want to hear more about it. And I don't know, there's so much of the coronavirus happening. I don't know if you even realize that today is Friday the 13th. And with that, there's a lot of superstition. And subhanAllah, it's amazing when thoughts are going through your mind and then you hear a hadith which you've heard before, but it's perfect for this time, as if though the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is speaking to that time exactly. And today, inshaAllah, I'm going to link these two topics, superstition, fear, paranoia, with what's happening with the coronavirus, advice to that, and guidance from the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ultimately, the message today is about tawakkul. The message today is we are vulnerable, we are weak, and the only way that we survive is to take the precautions Allah has guided, shown us to do, and then to put our faith and trust in Him. And a day will come where all the precautions we take will not be enough, because it is with the decree of Allah. And so, the hadith the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, and this is where, this hadith, I've heard it before, sometimes it's difficult to understand fully, but now, in the light of what's happening in the world, it makes sense. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was talking to the Sahaba, or talking to his community, and remember, they came from Jahiliyyah. They came from a period of ignorance. When you don't have science, you don't have guidance, you are paralyzed with superstition and old wives' tales and weird beliefs. And this was what it was like in Arabia. And so the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, part of bringing about Tawheed, the oneness in Allah, the fear and love for Allah, was to remove these baykhulufis, as we call them. Yeah, baykhulufis, side beliefs or old wives' tales, things that have no basis in religion or basis in science. And so the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, there is no adwa. Adwa was understood to be disease that could be contagious. So this hadith is a bit weird. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, there's no such thing as contagious diseases, if you read it literally. And there's no such thing as bad omens in birds. So the Arabs, they would see a type of bird, they'd go outside and they see, oh, this blue bird, khalas, this means it's going to be a calamity. Let me lock myself up in the house, no business today. That bird is a bad omen. There's no such thing like that. And so there's no such thing as bad omens. But the Nabi says, he acknowledges and he allows good omens. Good omens. And the Sahaba said, what do you mean by good omens? And he said, a good word. Something which makes you feel positive, that's okay. So like sometimes you feel, today is going to be a good day. I'm going to take this as a positive sign, that's okay. But you're not allowed to take something as a negative sign without any reason. Another hadith, gives you more. In Bukhari, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam again says, there is no such thing as adwa, contagious diseases that transmit through infections. No tiara, no omens, beliefs in types of birds. No hamma. Hamma is also a type of superstition with birds. It's a type of bird that made a type of sound. And the Arabs believe, when this bird, which makes this funny sound, lands on your roof, it is the bones of some relative that died a violent death that is being brought into this bird, and by sitting on me, it's making, some kind of message or some bad omen. This is what they believed. So the Nabi says, there's no such thing as hamma. And there is no such thing as Safar. Safar, the month of Safar, Muharram Safar, it was a belief that Safar was a bad luck month. And subhanAllah, even today, even in this day and age, you find people saying, Sheikh, we can't have the nikah this month because it's Safar. It's a bad month. This is the height of Jahiliyyah. We don't believe in stars and astrology and these things. The shape, the movement of the planets have no bearing on the dunya. And so the people of Jahiliyyah believed the month of Safar was something bad and unlucky. And so there's no such thing as Safar. So these beliefs, they contradict. They're not just bad for us because they paralyze you, they make you scared. What they also do is that it is a direct contradiction with our concept of Tawheed. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires of us to put our faith in Him and our trust in Him. That we should do and believe and follow what He advises us to do, and then be satisfied and contented that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the matter is in His hands. That there is no la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What does this mean? That there is no change that can happen to me, no harm that can happen to me, no benefit that can happen to me, except by the permission of Allah. What superstition does, it makes you believe in other forces of good and bad, and mostly it's negative, can harm me besides that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not legislated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tried to fix. I will link this up to the coronavirus and the contagious disease, which this is, as I said, the hadith is saying here, no adwa, no contagious diseases. What does that mean, Ya Rasulullah? Are you saying that we shouldn't believe in contagious diseases? We'll talk about that, it gives more clarity. And if we look at today, this baykhaluf is that every culture and society has these side beliefs. And you listen in the old wives' tales and they say, the old men say, we take these things, where do they come from? Many of these things come from a lack of understanding of science. It comes from Jahiliyyah, ignorance. And once knowledge is presented and you understand how it works, then you take away the mystical side of it. So if you look at certain things which are taken in common culture to be lucky, unlucky, Friday the 13th. Why is Friday the 13th presumed to be bad luck? Well, this is a European thing. Friday was a bad day because it's the day of these heretics where witches get together and they practice their magic, meaning Muslims. Right? In the past, people that were non-Muslim, they looked at us, we're coming to the mosque, we're doing some funny business, we're chanting. So Friday was taken as a bad day. And 13 was the number, the disciple of Nabi Isa that they say deceived him. So the number 13 became a bad synonymous thing. Of course, nothing to do, has no basis. Friday the 13th is just as good as Friday the 20th. Doesn't matter. Friday is in fact the most blessed day of the week, and the number 13 has no significance. We do not believe in numerology. 786 has no difference to 123. Don't believe that 786 has any power to bless your car. Your license plate 786 means nothing. Right? It just basically means if you drive like an idiot, people know it's a Muslim guy driving like an idiot. So, and we don't believe that any month has any badness to it. We do believe certain months have superiority in terms of barakah. Allah has not made any day worse off than any other day. He has rather elevated Friday and the month of Ramadan and the 4 sacred months, and He has put blessings in those months. Months like Rajab and Sha'ban, there are special blessings in these kind of months, but there are no months that are bad for you, and no days that are bad for you. Certain numbers, we said, no such thing as a lucky number or an unlucky number. We do not believe that animals have any negative signs in them, a black cat, a white dove, no such thing. And to believe in these things, and to alter, and this is the point of today's lecture, to alter your actions, your activity based on that, is in a way a type of shirk, a type of minor shirk. To alter your behavior based on a belief without knowledge, without evidence, is a type of disrespect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a weakness in your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we said, stars and horoscopes, subhanallah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his son dies on the same moment the sun is eclipsing. And back in the day, an eclipse, the sun disappears for an hour or two. It was very scary. They couldn't understand what's going on in the past. Today we understand what's happening is a planet or the moon is moving in front of it. It's very simple. We understand it. Now today we take the kids and we go and we marvel at the beauty of an eclipse. In the past it was scary. We don't even know if the sun is going to come back. And so naturally the Sahaba, out of their love for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, surely the death of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's son Ibrahim and the eclipse are linked. These two things must be linked. And in the height of his grief, he's crying, as a father, my son is dying, but he's always the Nabi first. And he says, what happens on the earth. The sun does not, in his words, the sun is not eclipsed by the birth or death of anyone. Rather, they are ayat of Allah. These are signs of Allah's grandeur and magnitude. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَقِ يَسْبَحُونَ, that they have their own orbits. When the sun will eclipse is based on its orbit. We can predict it thousands of years in the future because it follows a planned procedure as Allah had decreed. It does not affect anything on the earth, nor do we affect it. Right? The Nabi was teaching us that. So again, even looking in that horoscope, I said this many times, ya ikhwan, even for entertainment purposes, it is a type of shirk, it's a major sin. Don't ever look at your horoscope. Don't ever check in that you will meet the love of your life, but unfortunately there's quarantine, so no, subhanAllah, all nonsense, all nonsense. Names being lucky or unlucky, I've heard again this, subhanAllah, that this child, he was given the wrong name. He was meant to have a different name, and therefore bad luck has fallen on him. Yes, there are certain names which are haram, which are not good, and those names it's haram to give, and there are good names, and that we hope to take from it. But there's no such thing as heavy names. I've heard this before. The name was too heavy for him or to her. I don't know what that means. I don't know how the name is heavy. And then more common to our time, cutting your nails at night. Maybe the old people know that this was something that you shouldn't be doing. The Siddiq cutting nails at night, was that taken as a bad thing in the past? No, but the Siddiq doesn't know. Right? So, cutting nails at night. Some people are nodding, maybe the much older group. Maybe that was some auntie that said, you're going to cut yourself, you cut your nail at night. And it took to be some metaphysical thing. Water in the glass for the dead, that you leave a glass of water when someone has died. This again is completely, and in fact there's more than shirk in this. It was the belief of the soul remaining behind, or the soul leaving, dying, before its appointed time. The concept of a ghost, for example, is that a person died before his time. This goes directly against Allah's qadar. No one dies except by the permission of Allah. Yes, there are supernatural things which we believe that to be jinn, that's a different topic altogether. Spirits don't linger. The minute you are taken, you either go to your Jannah and you don't want to come back to even your wife or your kids. You're happy there. May all our deceased people be in a place so happy, looking at us and saying they're worried about Corona and all this. Why don't they just join us? Things are so much good here. And then there's the ones who are suffering for their sins. May Allah have mercy on them. May Allah make it easy for them. There's this belief attached to that, closing the mirrors when someone dies. You find this, subhanAllah, even in many Muslim homes. When you go in for the janazah, all the mirrors are closed. Why? We just do it because we just do it. Belief from the Europeans that a mirror captured your soul. That when you die, your soul is traveling and it can get stuck inside the mirror. This is complete nonsense. And therefore to break a mirror was also unlucky. It releases these spirits. Complete nonsense. If you break the mirror, you just have to buy a new mirror. Nothing like that. Horseshoes or rabbit foots containing ability to good luck charms, nonsense. Even ta'weez, wearing things with Islamic writings on it, even if it is Quranic writing on it, this is not permissible. You can hang 10 Qurans in your car. It will not protect it from accidents or protect it from someone stealing it. The Quran, yes, is a means of protection through reciting it. The recitation of the Quran will protect you. The kalimat of Allah, as the Prophet says, أعوذ بكلمات الله تامة من شر ما خلق. Oh Allah, I seek protection through your perfect words from all misfortune, all evil that you created. This is only accessible through reciting the Quran or through the dua. Hanging the Quran or having your house stockpiled, a nice cupboard filled with mushafs, it's not going to protect you. Even if you have the black stone of the Kaaba in your car, it will not stop it from being stolen. Hijackers will still take it. You still need your tracker and all that. Doesn't make a difference. The belief that menstruating women are bad, or especially at the janazah, subhanAllah, you find it's very sad. In one of the oppression we do to our sisters, we say to the sister, you can't greet your husband, you're in your haid when he died. The daughters, you can't go near the body, because the menstruating woman, she wards off the angels of mercy. Because of her, the angels of rahmah are not near the dead person. Right? I'm glad to see confused faces, because there are other faces who nod their heads saying, yes, we've seen this, we've encountered this. This, subhanAllah, even happened to my own family. Right? People told them, you're not allowed to go near your father because you are in your haid. You can't kiss him or greet him now. SubhanAllah, as one Sheikh said, if women, menstruating women, kept angels away, I will surround myself with haid women so that the Malikul Maut will not come near me. SubhanAllah. Right? Nothing like that. Nothing like that. A lady in a haid, there is no difference to her. There is no najasa upon her. There's only thing she cannot perform salah, and she cannot obviously have intercourse during that time. Salt is believed has always been as a magical power. Salt is a magical power. Why? Why has salt always been something powerful? Because it's amazing. You put the steak here, and you put another steak here. The one you put salt on it, 2-3 days later, the one without the salt is become rotten, whereas the other one is preserved. So it was believed that salt has some amazing power. It's like a magical kind of substance. And therefore you knock the salt over as a kafara, you must throw it over your shoulder. All nonsense. We know the reason why. Salt removes water from the, like biltong, it removes moisture from the meat. And because there's no moisture, no bacteria can grow in there, and therefore it remains preserved. Simple science, but because people didn't understand, they attached baykhulufis to these things. And so the Prophet ﷺ comes to remove the darkness of Jahiliyyah. And therefore, as we said, and I must mention ta'aweez, because perhaps many of these things are not relevant to you, but there might be brothers sitting here with ta'aweez around their necks. I've said this many times, you should not be wearing azimats or ta'aweez around your neck. This is a type of shirk. This is a type of shirk. The Prophet ﷺ took the pledge of 10 people. One of them, he didn't accept his Islam. The man says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I don't accept your Islam. Why? Because you're wearing something here. What is this thing? It is to protect me. Take this thing off. And he said, if you died with this thing on, you would not have been successful. Meaning you wouldn't go to Jannah because of that. It is a type of disrespect to Allah. To say this string here, with these words in here, I don't even know, because someone blew on it, is more powerful as a protector than my dua to you, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Than my salah to you 5 times a day. Remove these things from your house, from your car, from your body. Remove it away from you. The Prophet ﷺ, a man was wearing a type of bangle, a brass ring, like a bangle around his hand. The Prophet ﷺ said, what is this thing? And so the man said, this is to protect me from old age and weakness. The Nabi ﷺ says, remove it, because it not only will it not protect you, there's no medical purposes, but if you die with it, you would not be successful, meaning you won't go to Jannah because of it. So, we should remove these superstitions from us. Now, how do we, the Prophet ﷺ linked contagious diseases with the belief in superstition. How do we reconcile this? It was at such a point that some scholars of the past, they said to believe in contagious disease was a type of superstition. That diseases could not transmit from one person to another. You find this in the books of the scholars of old, because science in their time was limited. Yet you see the wisdom in Nabi Sallallahu, because just as he says, there are no such thing as contagious diseases, there's other hadith where he says, and we mentioned this last week, when there is a plague in one land, do not go to that land with plague. And if plague befalls you in your land, then you remain there and do not leave in it. Don't spread the plague. And he says, do not mix the sick animal, the sick camel, with the healthy ones. If you see one of the camels are sick, isolate him, quarantine him, take him away. And another hadith, the Nabi says, run away from the leper as you were to run away from the lion. If a man has leprosy, avoid him like you would avoid the lion. So we say, Ya Rasulullah, how do you reconcile these two? On the one hand, you are saying there's no contagious diseases. To believe in it is a baykhulufi. On the other hand, you are saying that take these precautions. When the Nabi says there is no safar, he's not saying there's no such thing as a month of safar. He's saying the belief that there's a supernatural harm in the month of safar is wrong. And to believe in a supernatural paranoia to diseases, to become hysterical, this is wrong. You take the precautions, you understand the science behind it, you take the measures, and then you leave your affair to Allah. You don't become paralyzed by fear and hysteria. And this is what we are seeing today. Because that fear is the same fear like the person waking up today, Friday the 13th, I feel scared today. I feel worried that something bad is going to happen to me. I feel scared if I go here or there, I'm going to catch some kind of plague. This extra fear is a lack of tawakkul in Allah. And the best way to treat this fear is to understand the science behind it. So I want to talk a little bit about the science of the coronavirus, so you can understand what is the difference between taking the precaution, being secure as Allah wants you to be secure, and being paranoid. When do we cross the line into paranoia? Because if you look what's happening, for example, in the world and in the markets, the harm of the fear of the virus is causing more danger than the virus itself. People's pensions wiped out. Economies collapsing. And these things need to be understood. So this virus, let's talk a little about the science. Perhaps the best video I watched, I try to do a lot of research when I do a khutbah. The best video I watched is a video on your immune system. What a beautiful, wonderful thing. And we take it for granted, subhanAllah, how your body fights viruses and bacteria all the time. And it's an amazing, amazing machine, your body. Every time you inhale, millions of harmful substances have been entering your body. They're crawling all over your skin. They are everywhere. You can't isolate it, wallahi. You can't. And it is only through the grace of Allah, He gave you this ability of your body to fight back without you even thinking about it. People don't know the difference between a virus and a bacteria. I need to explain this. Corona is a virus. Then there's something like a bacteria. What's the difference between the two? The bacteria is a much bigger thing. It's a living thing. It's in itself, it consumes food, it gets energy, it grows, it replicates. It's a living particle, a living organism. A virus is much smaller. And scientists don't even know if this thing is alive. Because it is like a little bit of code. Like if you, there's IT guys here, you have a corrupt code. It's just a particle of code in a capsule, in a shell. And it just floats around like that. It can't do anything. It can't expand. It can't grow. The only time it can do something is where this shell comes in touch with a living cell or an organism, and then it hijacks the organism. Then that code injects itself into that organism, and it replicates. It photocopies itself over and over and over. And it hijacks the machinery of the cell to make more of it until the cell it bursts and more of the viruses expand. And that's what's happening. So that's exactly what happens in our body. Bacteria are living organisms. Viruses are like these particles. And there are more viruses in the world than all other organisms put together. There are more viruses than that. So viruses, uncountable number of viruses in this world. They dominate the entire world in terms of their sheer quantity. So the body needs to fight them in different ways. You might ask a question, why, if I'm sick, I have a sore throat, I can go and take amoxicillin, and it can solve my sore throat when I have a bacterial infection. But when I have a viral infection, I can't take amoxicillin. It will make no difference. Why? Because an antibiotic kills bacteria. It disrupts the way this organism, its functions. The organism is alive. It basically poisons its function. The antibiotic, it's like a poison being sprayed on a shell. It does not harm that virus in the least. And that's why antibiotics do not work. And that's why antibacterial, cannot work on a virus. The only way you defeat a virus is your body must learn how to fight it. That virus enters your body, and now your immune system kicks in. Your immune system analyzes this thing. It looks for how it attaches to your cells, because there's a special lock and key kind of mechanism. It must attach itself to the cells, and so your body is able to, once it learns the code, it can break that thing and then destroy it. That's why you need to become sick for a few days, or you get a vaccine. Your body learns how to fight it, and once it's defeated it, you will never get it again, or shouldn't get it again. Chicken pox, many of you have experienced chicken pox. Chicken pox is caused by a virus. You get it, your body learns how to fight it, how to destroy it, and that memory is kept inside your immune system. So the next time a chicken pox virus enters your body, your immune system knows exactly how to defeat it. And there are so many viruses, unfortunately, that no matter how many times we defeat them, a new strain emerges, and it makes us sick again, and your body must go through the process again and again. And most of the time, most of the viruses get defeated without you even feeling any symptoms. Sometimes while it's fighting inside your body, it feels like a flu-like symptoms, and sometimes it becomes worse. And we'll talk about that. So this coronavirus itself, as I said, it's a string of genetic material inside a pod surrounded by spikes. And those spikes make it look like a crown. That's what's called coronavirus. A crown in Latin is called a corona. And it's these spikes that attach to your cell. They stick to your cell. And then the DNA inside, the RNA inside this virus injects itself in your living cell, and it hijacks it. And it becomes a cell producing more viruses, more coronaviruses. And coronavirus has always been with people, but it's a very mild virus for people. There are coronaviruses also that affect animals. and particularly in bats. Bats have a very strong immune system, very powerful immune system. And so the viruses that fight, so it's a constant war. As the immune system gets stronger, the virus gets stronger. So the viruses of the bats are super strong because they're constantly at war with the bats. Now, if those viruses can mutate and they can jump to humans, then we are dealing with a new kind of enemy that our body is not exposed to. And that is basically what happened. Not the first time, it's happened in the last 20 years like 3 times. We first had the SARS virus, severe acute respiratory syndrome. Coronavirus, it's also a coronavirus. They always attack the lungs. It's a virus that attacks your lungs. So the SARS virus came about also from bats. Then there was the MERS virus, the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. Right? Bats, camels, people. That's how it jumped. And now we have the newest virus, the COVID-19 virus, which went from bats, assumed to be a pangolin, Allah alam, way we're still not too sure, to people. Right? These viruses jumped. And this virus, as we said, it's new to our body. Our body doesn't know how to fight it. We're not used to it. And so you get sick, and it learns by fighting, by getting sick, how to defeat it. And for most of us, 90+%, you get infected, you have 5-6 days of sickness, flu-like symptoms, your body learns how to defeat it, and you're immune to it. Alhamdulillah, that's how it is. So let's look at this virus, this disease in numbers. As of yesterday, and this numbers obviously change every day, around 130 people around the world has been infected. 130,000 people around the world has been infected. About 80% to 90% of them in China. In China is where it began. Okay? Nearly 70,000 of the 130 have recovered. They've been infected, and 70,000 have basically recovered. They had 5-6 days of sickness, and then they recovered. And there's like another 60,000 of people who are currently sick. 130,000, more than half have completely recovered. The other half are still sick, and they are fighting it. Only 4,000, let's say 5,000 people have died from this virus. 5,000, reported. Some countries, they're reporting numbers, there's question marks. Meaning that this virus's kill rate is between the range of 1 and 2%. Meaning 1 and 2% of the people that get the virus will actually die from it. 90+% of people that's infected, all they experience is a mild fever, a bit of a cough, and some breathing difficulties, and then they become fine. That's what 90+% of the people experience. In South Africa, 17 people have already been tested positive with this virus. I see just recently Old Mutual, someone at Old Mutual has been tested positive like basically an hour ago. So it is here in Cape Town. It is here. It is here. It has arrived. What does this mean for you and me? Comparing it with other viruses, the SARS virus, as I said, this coronavirus is not the first time it came to humans. SARS was the first time it not SARS, the tax services, and maybe you should worry about them more than the SARS virus. They're far more dangerous. The SARS virus of 2008, I believe, 8,000 people contracted the virus, 8,000 people died of that virus. And the MERS virus, 2,500 people died, contracted the virus. The kill rate of SARS and MERS was much higher. 10% of the people that got SARS died. 30% of those who contracted the MERS virus died. 30%. And you compare that to Ebola, which is like 40%. I mean, half the people that gets Ebola die. This virus is around 1 to 2%. So it is still a mild pathogen. What makes this virus a bit scary is the rate at which it can spread. It spreads very, very quickly. And it seems to survive outside the body for much longer. And as I said, the symptoms for 90+% people, all they will feel is like a mild flu. In fact, you probably had worse flus in your life than the coronavirus flu. This flu, for most people, they will say, I don't know what the big deal was. I was just down for about a week and I'm fine again. I just had a bit of a cough and a mild fever. They are saying, in fact, doctors are telling you, if you have the symptoms of the virus, just stay at home, don't come to the doctor. Unless it becomes serious. Why? Because when you go to the doctor, you are making everyone sick along the way. You're spreading the virus. Whereas if you just stay at home, you'll get better. And also the doctor cannot give you a vaccine. We don't have a cure. You will have to fight the virus like you fight the flu. Treat the symptoms, take a headache tablet, a pain tablet, use fluids, and just rest it out And that's it. The big danger is spreading it. Yes, there are people that will get a severe form of this virus. Now what happens? What is this virus doing? It's invading your cells in your lungs. The lungs are a very sensitive organ. As the virus takes over your lungs, your body is fighting back and it's destroying those cells that have become invaded. Now, when there's a fight between your virus and your body, you'll see it on the skin, you get pus. Now that fluid starts building up in your lungs. And you know, if your lungs become flooded with fluids, especially septic, dirty fluids, you can actually die from that. You can get pneumonia. It can also result in bacteria now entering your lungs because it's a very nice, dirty environment for other particles to start living inside it. And that's what the danger is. That when the body and the virus the fight gets out of control, sometimes, in fact, many a times, what kills the person is not the virus, it's your body going extreme. Your fever is a defense mechanism. Your body raises the temperature to kill the virus. It's not the virus raising it, you raise the temperature, but it goes out of control, and actually the fever is the thing that harms you, that kills you. So it's your body having an overreaction and harming good cells in the fight. How is the virus spread? The virus is basically spread through particles of the virus in body fluids. Now, how does your body fluid leave your body? When you cough and sneeze most of the time. And that mist of nastiness, right, is in the air. And if you inhale it, if a healthy person inhales it, then you've inhaled the virus. Doesn't mean automatically you'll get it, your body will fight it off, but it could be how you get infected. More than the inhaling of coughing and sneezing is that the virus can survive on surfaces. So the guy coughs on the surface, the virus is alive up to, some say, 24 hours. Now you put your phone there, you touch there, the virus is on your hands, and then you touch your face, you eat with it, and now you've ingested the virus. And therefore, the best thing you can do is to wash your hands thoroughly, and for those of us who are coughing or sneezing, to cough in a tissue or in your arm. You cough, you sneeze like this, so it doesn't spread. They say now, the people say that in the past, the most dangerous thing on a plane was someone saying Allahu Akbar, or saying some Arabic word. Now coughing and sneezing is the most dangerous thing. So subhanAllah, if you sneeze and say Alhamdulillah, that's like the ultimate bad. You sneeze and you say Arabic. Who is at risk? There are people that are more at risk than others. A healthy person with a normal immune system, your chances are, as I said, 90+%. For many of you, you had much worse odds than that going into an exam and you felt confident. Right? This is 90+% you'll be fine. But there are people who are at risk. If your immune system is not fully developed, meaning your body cannot deal with the virus, like old people over the 70-year-old mark, most of those who died, the vast majority of the 4,000 plus who died are old people. So if you are old, you need to take the extra precautions. For you, maybe coming to even Jumu'ah might be a risk. Going to big gatherings like this might be a risk, and you have a reason, therefore, to isolate yourself. Anyone who has a compromised immune system, meaning you're already fighting a battle, cancer patients, people who go for, may Allah cure the people who have cancer, terrible disease. The chemotherapy fries your immune system, it destroys your immune system. And therefore you are basically a sitting duck for viruses. People who have organ transplants, they're taking medication to keep your immune system at bay, because the immune system even fights the new organ. So those people have to be at risk as well. Diabetes as well. We find a lot of people with diabetes and people with lung problems. Your smokers, ya salam, every subhanallah, everything you'll find smoking on the list. Right? No matter what, bumping your toe. If you smoker, it increases your chances of bumping your toe. Everything, subhanallah. So be careful. Because it affects the lungs. Because it affects the lungs. Smokers, your lungs are already compromised. Your lungs are already damaged, right, from the smoking. And therefore, the further damage to your lungs will cause respiratory problems. So keep safe. How to keep safe? As we said, the most important thing is to wash your hands. And the 22nd rule, you cover your entire hand. And this is how the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us. You wash up until over your wrists. Not just the fingertips, over the wrists. And you wash it for 20 seconds with soap or with an alcohol sanitizer. Questions, yeah, Sheikh, I use alcohol sanitizer. Is my wudu broken? Your wudu is fine, no problem, don't worry about it. Right? Avoid crowded places if you avoid as best you can. So it's a good time now. Avoid crowded places. If you are sick, or you show signs of a cough or a fever. So if you have a fever, a cough, these two things, a fever and a cough, then you need to avoid, public spaces. Don't come to work. Don't go to the mosque. The Nabi Sallallahu says a man who has garlic breath should not come to the masjid. So just a bad smell is enough for you not to attend the masjid. Not saying that, fine, I'm not going to come to masjid and Jumu'ah now. Fix the smell. Right? Do that and fix your symptoms, then come to the masjid. But don't cause other people inconvenience and harm others. The advice that we give, once you understand this, it's here. All we can do is take the precautions. We link this up. This issue of coronavirus can be the same like the Arab who looks at that bird and thinks this is going to be a bad day. Like the person who believes this day, Friday the 13th, is the end of the world because it's Friday the 13th. No. You take the precautions, you look at what is logical, scientific, learn from it, and then you put your faith in Allah. Do not panic. The panic is worse than the pandemic we're seeing now. Really, the panic is worse than the pandemic. And don't give in to paranoia. Take the precautions. Don't be irresponsible. Tie your camel, but don't also not come to the market. There are some people, they're so scared the camel will be stolen, I don't even go to the market. No, go to the market, but tie your camel. Tie your camel, and then put your faith in Allah. If you took the precautions, now you've left, Ya Allah, I leave myself to your hands. You determine what happens, what doesn't happen. This is tawakkul. And this is what the Nabi says, there will be a group of people, 70,000, who before the judgment occurs on the day of Qiyamah, before Allah asks the questions, He will say, 70,000 of you into Jannah before the questioning. Who are these lucky 70,000? The Prophet says, these are people who do not believe in omens and superstitions, that they don't go for supernatural cures and remedies. They put their faith in Allah, meaning they take what is logical, scientific, proven, and they have no more fear beyond that. Do what is in your power. The rest, I put my faith and trust in Allah. Pure yaqeen in Allah. These are the 70,000 lucky people who will enter Jannah. May Allah grant us to be amongst them. May Allah grant that there be a cure from this virus. This human body is an amazing thing. It will defeat this virus. Last, subhanAllah, we're over time. The Nabi made this dua. Remember this. He made dua, Ya Allah, let never my ummah be overcome by one external enemy. And Allah accepted that dua. And he made another dua, Ya Allah, let never a natural calamity, a virus, a disease, an earthquake, a flood, destroy my ummah completely. And Allah accepted that dua. And then he said, Ya Allah, let my ummah never be divided and fight each other. And Allah did not accept that dua. So, don't worry about the external. Fix things internally. Allah will take care of the external. We put our faith in Allah. Ameen. Just a few questions, just a few announcements. Our YouTube channel is up online. You can check that out. The First Kingdom, Tuesdays and Back to Basics between Maghrib and Isha. So not yet, we're not off for coronavirus. We're still having class, alhamdulillah. Unless you're a bit sick, so please don't attend. And any questions, concerns, westmuhammad@gmail.com. We also have this coming Thursday, it's still on, I see. Al-Jim will be having our Journey Through the Heavens, the Miraj program, traveling through the 7 samawat, what happens in the universe, all those things. Islamia Auditorium after Maghrib on Thursday. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.